Welcome to Ambition. It's Nick McLean, your host, and today we're talking to someone whose story is all too familiar. Sometimes people don't find their passion right away in life. They're in high school or college and they can't focus. This leads to bad grades, acting out in class, or dropping out altogether. But something inside them has that passion to be a leader once they find their calling. You've heard their names: Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and today, I'm sitting down with Brian Lennon. Brian had been an underachieving student until his father brought him along to work one day. During that visit to the family business, General Diecasters, Brian says his ambition switch was turned on. And in the years following, he went from underachiever to CEO, growing their business in the unique alloy castings niche into a company with revenues of tens of millions of dollars. We're going to learn what this journey looked like for Brian and the lessons he learned along the way, from the importance of hard work to patience and trusting in the long-term vision of the business. I especially want you to listen for Brian's belief that larger companies create more problems to solve. It is interesting how that belief meshes with his idea of how luck manifests itself. But before we get into that, we need to hear about the man who made it happen in the first place. Brian's father.
He was in die casting since the late 70s in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and that plant closed about 1990. And at that time, General Diecasters owner at the time, Emery Pryor, it was a very small company, just a few machines, really struggling to make its mark. And he had met my dad in a conference, talked him into coming out, and my dad was really excited about that. It was the first time, that he could actually, get his hands on the business and, help set strategy. A couple of the tenets that he set back then were quality and customer service. So he set up, a world-class, quality department back then, put in X-ray machines, CMMs, and then on top of that, he really kind of instilled in the company, we're gonna, no matter what, we're gonna get the customers good products, and if they have an issue, we are going to take care of them, whether it's our problem or not. They're going to experience the best level of customer service that they've ever had. So he, those were kind of his two main pillars back then. Pretty quickly they got some significant, new customers. Kirby vacuum sweepers, which was a really big deal back in the early 90s. And a couple auto jobs. And then, from there it was up and running. We had really, it was maybe a $10 million company in 1990. And just steadily grew, and we grew with the right types of customers. Die casting in particular, a lot of people look at it as a commodity. You just shoot metal into a mold, right? They can do it here, they can do it in Mexico, they can do it in China, and that's true for a lot of die castings. But we kind of had our niche in castings that not everybody could make. So castings with really unique alloys, a lot of machining, tight porosity specs. So that, having that capability allowed us to grow with customers.
So as I think about it, though, we've one of our portfolio companies, one of our other ones, we had an inspector walking through the plant, and they said, with you guys, you've never failed a quality inspection the first time. However, our other customers, they never passed the quality inspection the first time. But if they're going to be a little bit lower, we're probably going to go with them. Like, in this era of extreme cost cutting and whatnot, do you still feel like customer service is a winning strategy? Is that winning you customers? Is it keeping you customers? Or is that something that regrettably is just taking a second or a back door to price?
Well, I think it's different with a lot of different companies. I mean, everybody has their model for how they compete. And, there are, customers out there that buy a lot of die castings that we just know, we're not going to be competitive with. But fortunately, there's still enough out there where we have been able to be competitive with that strategy. And most of our new customers that we've won, it's because we were able to do something that somebody else couldn't. Whether it's make the casting, or develop a certain process for them. So we're always kind of on the lookout for that. If a potential customer comes to us and says, the current supplier just, is not succeeding for this reason, we've been very good at figuring out, okay, well, how do we do that? How can we develop a system to make this customer happy? And that's led to kind of most of our wins.
That's great. That's great. So I know you experienced a lot of organic growth, but also have to talk about the merger with Dart. That was probably a outcome that you never would have guessed. However, going into it, you probably had some expectations about what it would be like to manage the two facilities. How have those expectations differed than what's been reality? Also thinking about other business owners that are, at 10 to 15 million of revenue. Is this a path that you would encourage, buying a company that almost doubles the company overnight? Can you just talk a little bit about your experience regarding the merger with Dart?
Yeah, sure. It was a very interesting opportunity. It was both admittedly exciting and terrifying at the same time. But yeah, when the opportunity arose to merge with Dart Casting, it really just made a lot of sense. I mean, as I talked about, General Die Casters has always competed based on making very difficult castings, highly engineered parts, whereas Dart had been successful with just the opposite strategy, really being extremely lean, and being able to compete with offshore pricing. So just, it made a lot of sense to be able to, any quote that came in the front door, it could be a better fit for Dart, or it could be a better fit for GDC. So it really opened up the market. And yeah, I really wasn't sure how it would go. It was definitely my first experience stepping into a brand new company and taking the helm. And it could have went a lot of different ways, but fortunately they had a really, really great team in place. Really a lot of diamonds in the rough. A really young crew, which is very unique for manufacturing. So yeah, most of the crew is in the mid to late 30s, and a lot of very talented, and most importantly, just very ambitious, and they want to learn. I mean, they know that our team has been through the ringer. We've been through everything. We've had a lot of experience, and they, they're very eager to learn from us. So yeah, we're about a year and a half in right now, and we've accomplished a lot of things, and they've learned from us, and we've learned from them, and we're trying to implement each other's best practices. So yeah, we're really starting to see the results on the sales front too. We both kind of helped each other attract customers that we wouldn't have attracted otherwise. So it's yeah, it's going really fantastic.
No, I mean, it definitely, I've been in some of those conversations with you. I mean, it definitely makes a lot of sense. It's not as if you have one part of your plant that is dedicated to lower cost production. You just say, we have a whole plant dedicated to that with different processes and different machinery. So I do think it hits different with certain customers when you can point to different physical locations. But you talked about some of the younger staff having ambition to grow in their careers and whatnot. I mean, talk to me about your own personal ambition. Was it always your goal to become CEO of a company? Once you got to be CEO, was it growth, or are you more along the lines of, I just want to create a healthy business and do what I can to ensure the livelihoods of the employees, or some combination of the two? Can you just talk to me a little bit about your own ambition and how that has changed over time?
Yeah, sure, I'd love to. it's really interesting. I was, started college as, an underachieving high school student, didn't really have a lot of direction or interest. And my dad drugged me into the plant and just immediately just thought manufacturing was just the most fascinating thing ever. I mean, it was the combination of, all these people working together. You had the science and engineering of the equipment, and trying to make, how do you mesh all that together to get a certain result? So I just got really fascinated by it and changed my major in college and immediately started getting good grades. And that's kind of when my ambition switch turned on. And, I can't say that I thought a lot about being CEO back then, but I was very motivated about efficiency. I just wanted to figure out, how do you get these people to work together? How do you coordinate all this equipment? How do you develop processes and systems to get the parts out the door as efficiently as possible? And I was just always kind of fascinated by that puzzle, and trying to solve that puzzle. And I think if you're an operations person, I think you kind of have to be wired that way. Obviously it's all about the dollars at the end of the day, but if you focus on, gaining the utmost efficiency of all your operations, reducing scrap and uptime and keeping the team coordinated and marching in the right direction, then I think the bottom line, kind of takes care of itself. Before I knew it, the CEO thing just kind of came along.
Well, that's a great outcome for you. I mean, you talk about never having thought about the CEO role. Whenever you're talking about how you wanted to mesh all those different areas together to be more efficient, I think that's really the hallmark of a CEO. So often we'll talk to engineers and they're so, really laser focus on perfecting the product, or, if we could just make this small change here or that small change there, it's going to be so much better. And maybe it will be better, but this is just one piece of the cog. All the different pieces of the machine really have to be working together well, not just, individual stars or whatnot. Throughout your career, I mean, has that ever been, have you had a team where you felt like there were one or two star performers whose individual performance was great, but as it related to the team, it was not really, it wasn't pushing the team forward, it was only pushing one or two individuals forward?
I definitely have one person in mind. We've been very lucky at General. One of the reasons for our success is we just had this magical group of people that happened to fall in the same place in the mid 90s, and most of us are still here. And we're all different, but we all complement each other. One of those people was actually my first mentor. Kind of brought him along through process engineering, extraordinarily sharp. Young, a little bit, maybe a little big for his britches, a little bit cocky. Tried to mentor him along, sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a not so good way. Eventually, he ended up leaving, and it was, I would say he's probably the most talented person that's ever worked for me, but just culturally and just working with other people, just couldn't, it just wasn't a fit. And, it was really hard at the time for him to leave. But at the end of the day, I think it was the best thing for him. He's doing really well, and it was probably the best thing for us as well. Sometimes you can have all the talent in the world, but if you're just not in the right culture in the right spot, then it just doesn't work.
So looking into the future, what are some of your goals for dark casting and general die casters? Not necessarily in terms of financial goals, but are there key initiatives that you feel like will really help the companies take that next level, both in terms of growth and sophistication? We all know that, a company, we can't rely on Joe in shipping to just show up every day. We need processes and procedures in place so that Joe, if he's taken off, like we can still get parts out the door, but also so that Joe can move up in the organization, and whoever is ready to backfill Joe can know how to do it because the processes and procedures are in place. Now, is that a key focus for your companies as you continue to grow, to continue to build out and optimize those processes? Or do you feel like there are other initiatives that you're going to need in order to take that next step in the company's growth?
Well, developing those systems is high on our list of things to accomplish at DART. DART grew, General grew rapidly, but, DART grew, doubled in size in just a couple of years. So, they turned into a mid-sized company, but they were still running themselves like a very small, mom and shop company, and did remarkably well. But they still don't have a lot of those systems in place. So that's something that we're working hard on. Because without those systems, you just don't. You won't get consistent results. And as you mentioned, if you have turnover, if you have different people in place, you can't rely on the people. You got to have the systems in place to get the results that you want. So yeah, we're implementing. We just went live with our ERP system at DART. It's the same ERP system we have at GDC. So that kind of helps force the systems, forces you to work in a certain way. So that's very high on our list. And then even in general, you could work 100 lifetimes achieving the ultimate level of manufacturing efficiency and, never get there. So we're still, trying to adopt a lot of the lean manufacturing maintenance programs, total preventive maintenance, trying to get, achieve that, that airline industry level of reliability and uptime in manufacturing. A long way from that, but the potential is unbelievable. If you could improve the uptime in your machine even a few percent, it's significant dollars. And then automation is big at both of our plants. We're really lucky. We've got a really good team at General and at DART, doing a lot of automation internally, automating die casting machines and CNCs. Because there just aren't enough people to go around, for the business we have now, let alone to continue to grow. So that's definitely high on our list.
So as you think about managing companies of different size, forget companies of different size. There's that old adage, I don't know if you're familiar with it, little kids have little problems, big kids have big problems, meaning, little kids cry and you got to tend to them because they're screaming and it's really annoying, but bigger kids, they can go to jail or hurt themselves or hurt others. As you think about your companies and what it's like to run the company now at its size versus, when the company was smaller, does that adage apply? Like, are the issues that you face now totally different than when they were smaller? Do they keep you up more at night? Do they keep you up less at night because you have a team to rely on that's helping you solve those problems? Can you just talk to me about the differences among the challenges of a large company versus a smaller one?
I can't say that the problems are different. I think there's just more of them. So I think just time efficiency and management efficiency has become a lot more critical. There's just there's far more to do than is practical in any given day. And I think it's prioritizing right now that is kind of what I've been working on the most, because you can't do it all. And we have a good team that wants to try to do it all, every single day. And especially out at DART, they got these young, ambitious kids that just want to be doing everything and just trying to. I think that's kind of been the biggest thing, is to is my job of a leader is, okay, what are the priorities? what are we going to work on? What order are we going to do it in? Just trying to keep everybody focused, because it's with a lot more people and a lot more machines, a lot more going on, it's really easy for everybody to get off track and be going in different directions. And as soon as that happens, then things don't go the way that you want. So I think that's probably the biggest thing I've been working on, is kind of communicating that vision and trying to give clear direction and good priorities.
So I think one challenge people in other industries non-manufacturing industries would have is, the whole work from home phenomena or whatever, increasingly hard to get people to actually show up in the office. Manufacturing don't really have that luxury because you can't take the equipment home. Do you still face that struggle with some of your younger workers, or maybe it's older workers as well? But as we think about the different generations that we have working for the companies, are there any unique challenges there that you feel like you're facing that others aren't, or do you feel like you're facing the exact same challenges that really any company is facing?
Yeah, we've never really experienced the work from home phenomenon. So, none of us really did it enough in order to have to revert back, which has been good. I think if our staff had worked at home for a period of time and it had to return, I think it probably would be a much different environment. It's probably impacting us more, as you alluded to, just attracting new people. A lot of people, like that opportunity to be able to work from home, and we really can't offer that. So I'm sure that does shrink our pool of people that we are pulling from. And I think we've seen that. I mean, it's never been easy to get people to work in manufacturing, in particular on the night shifts, and that's been it, and that hasn't improved at all. So that's probably one of the biggest risks and fears, I think, of manufacturing in general, is just being able to attract those people that don't mind coming, coming to work every day. And especially, working in the evenings.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, I was kind of similar to you earlier in my career, seeing a manufacturing plant with all the machines. I mean, I just thought it was cool. And, my background's industrial engineering, which is making processes more efficient. So we definitely share the desire to make some of those processes more efficient. I'm sure you do it at home over stupid stuff. Like, why am I doing it that way? I should be doing it this way. That's the type of thing I find myself doing as well. One area that really fascinates me as I talk to different business owners and just my friends and colleagues and whatnot is the concept of luck versus hard work. Is that something that you ever think about as it relates to your career? About are you where you're at because of hard work, luck? Obviously, it's maybe some combination of the two. Is that something you think about? Because some people say, oh, it's all hard work, no luck. Other people say, I just got lucky, and other people say, that's a stupid question. I don't want to spend time thinking about it. I mean, how would you respond to that?
I would have to say, I don't know. I mean, I think for me, I've had opportunities. But honestly, I mean, I think a lot of people have opportunities. I think the key in life, both personally and for your business, is recognizing those opportunities and then figuring out how to capitalize on them. And I think maybe that is what equals luck, because luck is. We've been very, fortunate at General to be successful. I guess luck would be, hey, that you get that call from that customer that you've been looking for. But, well, why did that customer call you, And it's probably because, hey, you've been writing these blogs and your Google search criteria is high. So when he was searching for that, it came up. So I think if you do the right things, behind the scenes, then you put yourself in a position for those lucky things to happen. And then and then the key is recognizing opportunities and attacking them. You got to make things happen. You can't just hope things go your way. Once you see an opportunity, you got to figure out, okay, how do I set the stage where I can make this happen?
So you brought up two really interesting points there. You said recognizing an opportunity and then doing whatever it takes in order to capitalize on that opportunity. Do you feel like your specific skill set is better at one versus the other? Do you feel like people maybe aren't recognizing the opportunities more so, or do you feel like it's more they're recognizing the opportunity, they're just not able to turn that opportunity into success or into progress or whatever? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think I'm probably half decent at both of them. I mean, I think you kind of have to do
Mm-hmm.
both in order to succeed. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm always listening. I'm always reading. I'm always, thinking about opportunities and, any event that occurs. Even when bad things happen, it's like, all right, well, how do I make the best of this situation? This machine broke down, and you know what? We've been trying to put a robot on this machine for 2 years. We haven't had time. When it's down, we're gonna put a robot on it. So I think, and then just having, I think, determination is what drives me nuts a lot of times. Is you want, if you want something to happen, it's really um, what steps to have, break down the problem. If you want to get from point A to point B, just thinking of the problem as a whole might seem insurmountable, but break it down into steps and what needs to occur, and then putting that plan together to get the results that you need. I mean, I kind of like to think almost anything is achievable, if you have enough time, and if you think it through. And just yeah, I often find it aggravating that not more people can do that, but I think just maybe not everybody's wired that way.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting point. Even when I look at my kids, sometimes their rooms will be an incredible mess, and I'm almost have to be impressed at how messy they can make their room in such a short amount of time. I mean, there's a level of efficiency there. But then when you ask them to clean it up, it feels like such a daunting problem to try to clean that up, even though similarly to what you said, just break the problem down and start attacking it piece by piece. I wonder if that is a key part of how some people that are running their business struggle for growth. They see all this opportunity and it's really just daunting because they don't know how to make these big changes, and they aren't able to break that down. I mean, based off your experience with maybe some of your suppliers that have stayed small, like have you experienced any circumstances where you're working with business owners and you feel like they haven't been able to break down those bigger problems and try to solve them?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think it is a skill that is really kind of missing in general today. I mean, the ability, logical thinking, logical problem solving. Um, there is a strong lack of that, and I really don't think it's really taught anywhere along the way. Um, I remember one of my first jobs at General was, I set up our process monitoring system, which monitored all the die casting machines for speeds and pressures. It collected all this production data, and I had this database with all this data in it. So I was learning how to program databases and do queries, and I think it was one of the most valuable experiences of my life because it really taught me to think logically. If you wanted this data to come out in this order to get this result, um, you have to code it just right, or it doesn't give you the result that you want. So just trying to, I think that thought process really kind of helped me look at really everything in a different way. And I think that's a skill that we really need to think about in schools, is critical thinking, logical problem solving, because I think it's a concept that just not many people get experience with.
I completely agree. I mean, I remember whenever I was interviewing for jobs, some of the top consultancies, they'd have these logic puzzles that you would have to solve. And I'd read through some of them. I'd think, I've never seen problems like this before. If this is important, if these really well known and established and successful companies think this type of skill is valuable, why is there none of that in any of the 16 years or whatever of schooling that I've been in? I mean, it's a interesting point that you bring up there. One thing though, I want to definitely give you praise, because I remember whenever we first started talking, I heard about some of the things you were doing. You had the ebook about die casting and how to use die casting in different applications and whatnot. You started a blog or whatever, and I mean, we're talking about a manufacturing company. We're not. I mean, this is. I mean, yes, it's high tech. There's a lot of engineering that goes into the cavities and the shot pressures and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is just basic manufacturing to some degree. Really, we're not making semiconductors or anything along those lines. So I have to give you a lot of praise for being progressive as it comes to marketing. I mean, where do you think that came from? A person that said that he's mostly concerned about making processes more efficient and getting the team to work together. When did you start coming up with ideas to create a white paper or an ebook and a blog and whatnot? Because again, that seems definitely more progressive on a marketing front than I would think a lot of your peers would be.
Yeah, I can't say I that was a big personal light bulb moment, but had some good advice from a few different people. One in particular is a good friend of mine and has been a mentor, Chris Gilmore. He ran Godfrey Wing, which is a vacuum impregnator. Really sharp business guy, and he kind of turned me on to the inbound marketing concept, because what we had been doing previously just wasn't. Most of our business we had won word of mouth, and I just didn't like our fate. Of the company just waiting for that phone call. So we had to take a more active role. Chris was telling me how inbound marketing was very successful for his manufacturing business, and I admittedly always enjoy creative writing, and I've never had the opportunity to tie that into work. So having the opportunity to get to sit down and write about some of the things that I'm the most passionate about was very appealing as well. And then we were pretty lucky to have find a local company that specialized in inbound marketing right here in Twinsburg, Felber Marketing and PR. But he really helped us a lot too along the way. Introduced us to HubSpot and kind of showed us the ropes of inbound marketing. So yeah, getting back to, I guess, recognizing opportunities. You hear something that what that sounds right, and then kind of figuring out the steps that needed to happen to bring it to life. And yeah, we got a couple ebooks now and lots of blogs, and it's definitely helped a lot. Both developing the brand and bringing a lot of traffic to the GDC website.
So that's very good. Thank you. One more question before we kind of try to wrap this up. One word or concept I've heard you talk about twice now, I think, is a mentor that you've had throughout your career. We've only been talking for about 30 minutes now, and you've talked about a mentor twice. So it really sounds to me like mentors have played a meaningful part in the development of your career and whatnot. Can you talk a little bit about the impact that mentors have had on you?
Oh yeah, I've been if there's anywhere that I've been lucky, I would say just having the opportunity to work with a lot of good people. I think most importantly is my father. My father worked in die casting his whole life. Him and his partner purchased General Die Casters in 2000. but yeah, I got to work with him for almost 20 years, and uh, one of the best, business people around. And, he was just, he was one of the best people around at working with people. He just taught me so much about getting people to work together, respecting people, respecting, the team. He said, of all the things that, he's proud of, building the business, the one thing he is most proud of is all the people that he's helped. He never forgot about the people that were, running the machines on the floor. He always tried to take care of those people. And that's, I always try to live by that, because, it's the team that makes it work. No one person does it, on their own.
So I hate to overgeneralize and say that, how can you help somebody trying to grow your business? Oh, I mean, do this, do that. But I have to think that some of the struggles that you have experienced, would be helpful to certain types of business owners, or business owners facing certain struggles. If you have to think about, one struggle in your career that has been particularly impactful, that you really feel like could be a teachable moment, not only for other business owners, but maybe for people rising through the ranks or whatever. I mean, is there one or two of those real core moments in your career that you felt like was a crossroad, a significant crossroads that either, led you to where you are today, or would have been something different? Or do you feel like it's just been more little steps along the way where you've been continuing to build knowledge and that's helped you get where you are today? How would you answer that question?
I would say it's mostly little steps. I mean, there are those events that occur that kind of make you rethink things. One of the challenges of our business and is selecting new work, and especially general. We pride ourselves in making very difficult parts. So we get a lot of quotes for very difficult parts, and for a while there, my mentality was, what, this is our thing. We need to take on the hardest things out there. But you know what? That's not always the smartest business decision. So it's kind of weighing, what you're capable of, what you personally think you can do, what you can achieve with what's good for the business, and not taking on too much risk. And I stepped over that line once in a project for an automotive project back, 15 years ago now, probably. And, it was a part that was basically unmanufacturable, and, before that, we would always work, the customer would always recognize, hey, you know what, they're doing the best they can. We need to work with them on this. And this customer just drew the line in the sand. And, we're standing in the face of physics. And I'm like, we can't do it. You want it. And then things got pretty ugly. So that always stands out as an important learning topic. And then I think that's kind of when I started kind of putting the business hat on more than the engineer hat sometimes. That was that was a very important lesson there. And yeah, there have been many of them, but yeah, that's definitely one that sticks in my head.
Well, in thinking back on our conversation, there's a couple of themes that really stand out to me. One, it's recognizing opportunity, looking for opportunity, and also recognizing that this might not be a home run type opportunity. This might be a single, or this might just be, avoiding a strikeout type of opportunity, as opposed to, again, hitting a home run or whatever. And then once you recognize that opportunity, taking action on it. So, again, that, we're not going to talk about luck or hard work here. We're just going to talk about looking for opportunities. And when you find those opportunities, even if they're small, making sure that you capitalize on them. And then the second theme might be how the positive influence various mentors, coworkers, family members, etc., have been on your career and on your life as well, and how need to take advantage and not in a negative way. Just they're presumably they have smarts in certain areas that you can learn from. I mean, do you feel like based off what you've been talking about, do you feel like that's a good way to summarize it about the recognizing small opportunities and fabricate and bringing those to life, as well as utilizing mentors and other people in your life to grow yourself professionally and in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was very fun talking through these things, and yeah, I think you hit on a couple big topics in my life. So yeah, I would definitely say those are two important areas of how I've managed to be successful. Yeah.
Well, good. I really appreciate your time. We mentioned time management being a critical part of your job, and so taking an hour away from that, I just am very appreciative that you would do so. Just again, want to thank you for that. Also, where can our listeners go to learn more about General Die Casters and dart casting?
Sure. Our website's a great place to start. generaldie.com and dartcasting.com. And then, of course, we're on all the social media feeds as well. But yeah, check out our websites and go from there.
Well, great. Well, this podcast will be released on all the platforms. I think this is probably going to add to your celebrity, 10 or 100-fold. No, I'm just joking. I don't have anywhere near that level of aspirations, but hopefully we'll allow you to have some more content that you can use in your inbound marketing processes. So again, thanks for your time. Really enjoyed it, and look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks, Nick. Been a pleasure.
Brian's story is ripe with optimism and surprising perspective shifts that we can all learn from. For example, he sees a machine breaking down as an opportunity to accomplish an important company goal. That sounds crazy until you realize that it is actually incredibly efficient. Challenges are always going to arise in business, even at scale, and it's all about how you react to them. Brian's mindset is built on a foundation of critical thinking and logic, skills he credits for helping him break seemingly insurmountable problems down into small steps that lead to a solution. Showing up every day is an important part of success. Much like running a marathon, commitment and determination are the daily steps that get you to the finish line, not talent alone. The impressive growth of General Die Casters and the company's successful merger with Dart are the hard-won evidence of Brian's ability to see opportunities in surprising places and take action to achieve targeted results. The next time you're faced with a problem, ask yourself if it might actually be a stepping stone toward your goals. If you were inspired by this episode of Ambition, please share it with a friend or colleague. Thanks for listening.